again, my friends. You're listening to the ChrissieCast live from the compound. And today, guess who's dropped by? None other than food queen Poh Ling Yeow. Now, I have loved Poh since I first saw that 1,000 megawatt smile on MasterChef all the way back in 2009. And I remember watching that show religiously with my brand new baby Leo sleeping on my chest. Gorgeous memories. As the years have gone by, Poh has slowly unfurled herself to us, and she gets more and more interesting by the minute. Joyous, curious, pragmatic, yet deeply creative. Poh is a thinker and a joy bringer. Please enjoy this chat I had with her at my place about the joys of being alone, her unconventional breakups, her super unusual childhood, and we find out who's Sharon. ChrissieCasters, raise your millefeuille for the equally layered Poh Ling Yeow. Welcome to the ChrissieCast, Poh.
Chrissie, it's entirely my honour. You know how much I adore you.
I've got so much that I've been wanting to talk to you about, but you're so busy.
Yeah, both of us.
Both of us, but mainly you.
No, that's not true. That's a lie.
No.
You've got children.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, you've got dog. Oh, dogs. No, dog. You
Singular.
have dog.
Yeah, I just have the loaf now.
We're going to get onto all of that. But first, let's talk about this picture of you as a child.
Yes.
Let's cover this off.
Yes.
All right. So this is Poh. Look at how cute you are. You look about 3 or 4. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm 3.
And you were living in Malaysia there.
Yes.
I didn't realise that you had late onset Aussiness and that you weren't here until you were 9.
Yeah. I turned 9 on the plane.
Really?
Yeah.
That's late
Yeah.
to start in a new country.
Ish, yeah. But enough.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Because I've got an 11-year-old and I think if she had had a whole other life for the first 9 years in a different country.
How different she would be.
So different.
Yeah.
And how hard that would be for her.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, because I've always felt like an alien. Like I've always felt I've been beamed in from somewhere else. And it's very interesting because it was only in my mid-30s because I was writing my artist statement and I was talking about, you know, feelings of belonging, what my art was about, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, hang on a minute. I always affiliate that with migration, but I felt that when I was in Malaysia.
Did you?
Yeah. Like incredibly anxious child because of it. And when my parents announced that we were coming to Australia, I had this, there's a handful of moments in my life that I feel were very epiphemous. And that was one of them where I just, clear as day, 9-year-old, I just went, my life is finally going to make sense.
Really?
Yep. And when I arrived, everything was magical to me.
So you arrived in 80s Adelaide. And what was that like?
I loved it. I arrived in summer. The memories of my first few months here were stone fruit because we stayed with my uncle for 6 months. Can't believe he had us there for that long with his own little family. And the whole summer was like swimming at one of my other uncle's pools. It was all very different lifestyle to me because it was very outdoorsy and
I'm seeing brightness.
Yeah, brightness, blue skies, uncles that would spend a lot of time with us kids, you know, taking us out to do fun things, and also just this very school life just suddenly was like, I love this, but still felt like an oddball the whole time.
I've got to circle back, as they say in the parlance of our times. You just said that your uncle took you to do fun stuff. And my dad, when my parents split up, what year are we talking here in Adelaide? 1984? Okay, great. Right in my wheelhouse. Yeah. Did you ever – so my dad lived in Adelaide. So I've got like an absolute identical visual of where you arrived.
Yeah, right.
And he would do fun stuff with me as well. But one of the most fun things was going to Magic Mountain at Glenelg.
The big poo.
The giant poo. And we never went in. I think maybe, you know, budget didn't allow for proper fun.
Yeah.
But to this day, I've never eaten a better hot cinnamon donut than that which was sold at the entrance of Magic Mountain in Glenelg in the 80s.
Oh, wow. The power of memory.
Hot.
Yeah.
In that sweaty white bag.
Yes.
And that was just like,
And did you watch everyone having fun on Magic Mountain while you ate it? Do you think that was part of the whole experience?
Well, no, because I was having the exact correct fun for me.
Yeah,
which involved a bag of hot cinnamon donuts.
I never desired to go that was so beyond my confidence to be in public in a swimsuit, even at that age, doing something as crazy as like sliding down a water slide.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That was unimaginable to me. Like I was like, there is no way I could ever do that, even though you're just letting yourself slide down a slide.
Yeah, I know, but I know what you mean because I would look at people and just go, you're just in your bathers.
Yeah.
Walking up 7,000 stairs.
With a bunch of strangers, like hundreds of strangers, and doing this thing. No. That was like, oh, gross, can't do it.
Do you think that's because you weren't a normal person?
Yes.
I think it's just the same with me too. And all these little things growing up, I would see people having fun, particularly having fun.
Yes.
And I would go,
I can't do that.
What does that look like?
Yeah, that will never be me.
How can that be fun?
Yeah. So were you a loner as a kid?
Yes, very much so.
Interesting.
And I still am. I feel like my natural state is alone with an animal, like a cat or a dog, mainly a cat, I think. That was like, yeah, that's perfect for me. No talking.
Yeah. A lot of thinking.
A lot of thinking.
Yeah.
I love thinking.
Same.
What about when you're full of rage? What do you do?
Clean.
Do you?
Yeah, because my house is usually quite messy. I'm very chaotic. You know, if you've ever watched an episode that I was in on MasterChef,
Of course, who hasn't?
that translates directly to my life. What the bench looks like. And it's a miracle that I get stuff done, but I just always deliver.
I feel like you and I are strangely similar. Every time I've ever spoken to you,
We're like ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
And everything checks off. Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't happen with a whole lot of people.
And also even in the industry, like we're very healthily suspicious of the whole thing that we're in.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Like we don't completely buy into it.
I think I sort of had to learn the hard way when I was working at a radio station and doing breakfast radio, which is a particularly, like you've got to invest a lot of yourself into that. It's not like a normal job.
Yeah, I do feel that with radio. You're telling a lot of personal stories.
Yeah.
And tapping into like your friendship stories.
Yeah.
It's like, I find it quite invasive. I always feel sorry for people that are on radio.
Well, I think I know what you mean.
As in the people that know people on radio. Sorry.
I really love it, but it did take me a while to, I guess, get used to that because I am a private loner person. So in the beginning of my career, I look back on it and I was so sad. And I think I was sad because it was like the Hans Christian Andersen Little Mermaid story. I loved it so much, but it was very uncomfortable for me. You know how she's like, I just want legs. And they're like, you can have legs, but it's going to hurt as if you're walking on knives.
Wow.
And then I got used to it and now I just love it. But I lost my job very suddenly and it was the closest I've got to feeling grief. It was like I had died, but I was still alive. I've never been sadder. And yeah, it was really weird. And so from that experience, I really learnt that I cannot get my self-esteem from work.
Yeah.
That's not a safe bet. And I think you're the same.
Yes.
Work is amazing and we're so lucky and we love it. But the real us is, me making stock from scratch or you pottering around with your
Me
loaf.
cooking with no one watching. That's what that book's about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to
We're
do
referring to your book, What I Cook When Nobody's Watching.
Yeah, because like I sometimes get frustrated that I even jip myself of these moments of solitude because I'm like, oh, should I make a reel out of this? I'm in it, I'm loving it, and then I wreck it.
Same.
And I'm like, you're such a dick, just stop it, switch that thing off.
Yes.
And just be in this, you know. Do you remember when this didn't exist, social media?
Yeah.
And you could just be immersed in the thing that you love to do without having to get likes for it. I hate that.
I know, but when you say that, it makes it sound like superficial or not meaningful.
No.
The basis, I think, of you wanting to do that comes from a good place, is to share.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Sometimes I need to say out loud when I'm in that funnel. I need to say out loud in a mirror.
Yes.
Some things aren't for sale.
I love that.
Yeah. It's only when I hear it and see my face saying it to me, I go, yeah, you're right, actually.
I'm going to have to do that.
I don't have to tell everything. It's hard. I can't remember what we were talking about.
We're not going to cover anything.
Oh, I want to tell you one thing. Yes. When you were talking about that you like to clean when you're full of rage.
Yeah, rage. Yeah.
About me the same.
Oh, really?
And yes, I love it. And I also find that mentally, if things aren't, I'm not an organised person, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't, absolutely not. But if things don't make sense to me, then I can't be creative. I can't leave the house. I can't think. So I've worked out a way to very quickly get everything in order so then I can open my brain for other things.
Please do share.
I'm so excited. It's about to change your life. I'm going to order them. And do you know how to work out click and collect?
I think so.
Okay.
Did that sound...
I'm going to click and collect something for you and I'm going to send you the receipt and you're going to go and get it from Adelaide Bunnings.
Oh, my God, this is so mysterious.
No, just go with me.
I'll go with you. I trust you explicitly.
There will be a text message saying your click and collect is ready to deliver.
Oh, my God.
From I don't know, where is your closest Bunnings?
Oh, it's Norwood.
Norwood, okay. Bunnings Norwood. It's ready. And you'll turn up. You'll show a barcode.
Yeah.
And I will have ordered you
a thing.
8 buckets, slightly square with handles.
Oh, I see. This is where this is going and it's excellent.
Poh, it has changed my life. I now have 30 buckets at home. And what it does is it compartmentalizes it in your brain and you can see. So if your house is all shit everywhere, you put out, I'm going to say 3 for you, 3 in your kitchen, and you go, there's a book I haven't read, there's a tea towel I've got to give to somebody, all in different things. Then you can move those and deal with them when your brain can allow it and you have the clean space.
I love that. I think that's very, very good.
It will work for you, I'm telling you.
Yeah, no. It's really quite funny because one of my favourite things to, when I'm talking, I'll go, yeah, sorry, because my head is in eight different boxes.
Yes.
And now it really will be.
It really, because you can see it then. You can go, oh, there's that box that was in there.
Yeah.
I've got that.
Yes.
It's the best. It's the best.
I love it.
After we finish talking, I'm going to take you into my bedroom and show you what I did yesterday.
All right. No, I would love that.
And then you can see it, in action. Now, you have said that you were an anxious child. You've said it in articles. You've said it here today.
So anxious.
Why?
Separation anxiety. I was just, I was terrible at school. I know that I had some kind of learning difficulty because now it's something to do with comprehension.
Okay.
That some synapses aren't just wired properly, where when someone is explaining something to me, especially of a technical nature, I find it very hard to absorb it, right? But anything of an emotional nature, I'm like, I will just understand it without even having anyone understand, no explanation.
Me too. Poh, what is going on? I cannot do anything technical. Have you heard of, I can't even remember the term now, Marcel, what did I discover about myself? That I have to do it with someone in the room? Mirroring. Have you heard of that? Task mirroring?
No.
Okay. Oh, my God. So the problem with us is our brains are wired in the same way, in that way, and it's debilitating because also we prefer to be alone.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So the problem there is what we need is something called task mirroring. Have you found that you can do things or organise things if someone is with you?
They
don't need to do anything.
No. I have heard it. Actually, 2 days ago I was listening to a podcast and they talked about it. And it's really interesting because I have a history of having odd characters in my life that don't mind being in the room with me and not talking to me.
Yes.
Because people are like, oh, it's interesting that you're friends with them. And I go, yeah, I find very relaxing to be around. And I'm having like a moment right now.
Yeah. And I found out about it quite recently too. And then I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. And then all these examples came up. So like if I've got a pile of laundry so huge that I want to die and I can't do it. Ever since I had children, I would say, Peg, can you just sit on the bed and be there while I do this?
How interesting.
And then I can do it.
Yeah, that we've known what we needed but not been able to identify what it's doing for us.
Yes.
How interesting.
It's so interesting.
This is like a therapy session.
Oh, it's turned into that. So the separation anxiety, talk to me about that.
So basically I would go to school, not understand anything. Do you know that Larson comic, single cell cartoon of the man talking to the dog and the dog's looking up and he's just hearing blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
That absolutely epitomizes what school was for me.
Wow.
And my mum used to go, because Malaysian schools are weird. There's like 50 kids per class. So the teachers are completely out of touch with, they don't really care. You know,
they don't know
No,
who
they'll
you
just
are.
give you your mark and that's your problem, right?
Okay.
There's no sort of like conscientious, oh, this kid's having a bit of trouble with this.
Yeah.
We might coach them a bit more, whatever.
Yeah.
So my mum used to come in the morning to school occasionally, and last night's homework would have been written on the board because it's so old school. They would write the whole thing longhand
with chalk
on the board. So she would copy everything down. Oh my God, before cell phones, how did we do this? And then she would do the homework for me and I would hand up homework that was completely done by my mother.
Did she do well in primary school? Yeah.
She did well because I had no idea what was happening. I just spent this is my memory. I would travel to school on a school bus with my brother. I would cry from the minute I left the gate. At recess time, I have such vivid memories of having my little nasi lemak.
Yum. Talk to me about that. What is that?
Nasi. So it's just like coconut rice with sambal that was like so spicy it would blow your head off.
Delicious.
An egg, some like ikan bilis, which is like a white bait that's in this belacan, and I would unwrap it and then I would just keep crying. And I remember just so clearly almost being able to wring out my hanky because I was crying so
proper
much.
tears.
Yeah.
Sobbing.
Yeah, sobbing.
Well, it would have been really hard.
Yeah. And so I just felt completely lost at school. And to add on top of that, it was in a convent. So the toilets were in this really spooky separate block with no lights. And it just had these very tiny windows at the top and these cubicles that were giant for a tiny kid. And then like Turkish toilets like in the ground. And no one ever cleaned them. So they were filthy.
Oh my God, it sounds like a prison.
And black. It was daytime, but it was very dark and spooky. And there was just all these like dumb stories circulating about like toilet ghosts and stuff like that, you know, and because it was in a convent as well. So I would just be like busting the whole day, anxious because I had separation anxiety from my auntie, more from my auntie than my mum actually, because mum was more like an older sister. So
why was that?
Well, mum and dad went straight back to work. And it's a very common thing for like an elderly like person who's not married or a nan or something like that to come and live with the family and look after the kids and kind of be like a nanny.
Right.
So mum's auntie became that for us.
Ah.
So we've had her around since both of us were born. So she's always been sort of our primary caregiver.
Right.
When we in the morning, she was the one that, you know, tied my shoelaces when I was tiny, combed my hair, plaited it.
Did she come to Australia with you guys?
She did.
Wow.
And she's still around.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's like my heart. And I shared a bedroom with her till I was like 19.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just was devastated every morning leaving her.
Your auntie, did she have children of her own?
No.
Oh, well, she didn't need them. She had you.
No, she didn't even.
Delicious little Poh.
She didn't even have any love, nothing. She literally just gave her life entirely to my family.
Wow.
I find it really hard to talk about her without crying, actually. She's just been my solid. I think I would have turned out really differently without her.
Really? And how did her closeness with you affect your mum?
That's a very interesting question because it's always been a challenge for me to balance the two matriarchs in my family and wonder if Auntie is very Buddhist in that she's all about having no sense of possession, even with emotions, I think.
Right.
Whereas I think Mum, it's very interesting. Sorry, this is going to unfold,
unveil
a whole story.
Yeah.
So Mum
You're so interesting.
Mum always had this kind of outrageous temper with us growing up. And it was very confusing for me as a child because I couldn't understand how you could become so enraged over a kid trying to write a letter and getting it slightly wonky or whatever, right? As she got older, it started to, just calm down. And as I got older, I started to consider this must come from somewhere. It's repressed something. And one day we were just casually talking and she said, so the reason why I'm so close to all my dad's side of the family, the cousins on that side, and you're so close to them is because I was raised by that side of the family. And I was like, what? And she goes, yeah, when I was born, my mum gave me away to my grandma. And I was like, say what?
Wow.
So what happened was my eldest uncle was mum's second, was quite sickly as a child, and my grandma couldn't cope because when Chinese women get married, they move in with the boy's family and then have to look after
everyone,
the whole family.
Yeah, right.
And he had
they become everyone's wife.
He had
and mother.
Brothers, cousins, mother. So she went from single girl.
That sounds like fresh hell, by the way.
Cooking for 12 people and managing a child and all these different things, right? Not to mention mother-in-laws that are looking over your shoulder when you cook.
Yeah, that's not how you do that.
That kind of thing, So she got palmed off to her grandmother and lived there for 7 years until she was ready to go to school because we start school quite late at 7. And then the mum just pulled her out of that situation and brought her home. And by then she had 3 other siblings, which was kind of weird also.
Wow.
Right.
Is this normal I
do
culturally?
I do hear a lot of stories like that because even on my dad's side of the family, one of Dad's aunties was childless, so his mum gave his younger sister to her. So even though they're siblings,
wow.
Yeah, they're
You have this one.
Yeah, they're kind of cousins at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like making, a couple of loaves of banana bread at one time.
I know.
We're going to keep this one, but you have that one. Saves you making it yourself.
But I think it's kind of lovely because when you hear about how people used to, when they say it takes a village, that's literally
yes, but
that.
I couldn't do that. I could never.
But I think if you
have that baby and give it to somebody, I just could never. I could never. I've never understood.
I don't think I could do it.
As soon as I worked out what adoption was,
yeah,
I remember being 6 or 7, little, and just going, how do you ever get over that? How do you ever get over the moment that baby walks out of the hospital room with somebody else?
I also think it's the ultimate act of sacrifice for a woman to have a child.
Yes.
Because you are displacing all this life force and your beauty and everything, right? Goes into your emotional, physical, everything just gets injected into creating this new being, and to then just give it away. That's so full on, isn't it?
It's so full on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your mum she had a temper.
Yeah.
And she was raised
for
the first 7 years by a family that wasn't her own.
Yeah. But she had a really idyllic sort of, environment there. So that was all good. But I think then when she just kind of got jerked back into her own home situation, it was really traumatic, I think. And she wasn't really allowed to express it because her mum got a little bit jealous about that situation. And what I find so interesting, and I could only contemplate this when Mum passed away, is that she kind of allowed that to echo with me and my auntie, because then she didn't know that kind of love. So then she kind of gave me to auntie to look after. We lived in the same house, but auntie was my port of call. She was the one that would rub liniment on my ankle when I sprained it, or packed my lunches, or, you know, all those kinds of things. And Mum was kind of like this cool older sister.
And was she working all the time?
Working all the time, yeah. Hard worker.
Right. Do you think your anxiety as a child had to do with your mum's rage and like you going, I can't help it?
I think so.
No, and not knowing.
Yeah, I didn't understand where it came from. I was just so, I was confused by it as a child, yeah. Can I feel a bit self-conscious about the fact that I've painted my mum as a monster.
No, you haven't. You haven't. Oh, no, you haven't.
Okay, I just wanted to say she's a very forgiving person. That's
Yes.
interesting.
So
I've got that.
Yeah.
Very forgiving, but really loves a good silent treatment standoff. but also in many ways very forgiving, yeah.
And she wouldn't have had an easy life. I think this is what people forget about people that aren't conventional. My parents the same. In fact, most people I know. They are the product of a whole lot of situations that they didn't have any control over and that were really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, you know,
they're still here and they're still loving you and they're still turning up and they're doing the best they can.
Yeah.
And I know that because I'm the same.
Yeah. I always think it's funny when people go, oh, my family's so screwed up. I'm like, what family isn't? That's what a family is.
Exactly.
People always say family is like love and cuddles. It's like, no, family is this group of screwed up people.
Yes.
That are genetically linked to each other.
But I think the problem with that is you can only see that and accept it and actually celebrate it, love it when you're older. And I think particularly when you're women our age, we grew up with 70s and 80s sitcoms like Happy Days and Family Ties and, you know, I would look at it and go,
what is that?
Where can I get me some of that?
Yeah, no, totally.
You know, and the fact is that is a utter confection. That is not the real world. But when when you want to belong, you see that and you're like, oh, that's why I'm so crazy because, you know, my parents aren't Elise and Michael or whoever from Family Ties.
Just quickly, for all the, you know, resentments that you have for your mum and dad for whatever and however they manage the family situation.
Yeah.
One day I was looking through some family albums and I saw this picture and it's quite uncanny because it's identical. I can put one of my brother and my dad and my grandfather and my dad in the same positions, like son and standing next to their dad at the same age. And seeing my dad's little face, I was like, everyone was this pristine little child at some point and then life happened.
Yes.
And it just changes everything, you know, and it just is. As I get older, that's my thing. I'm like, it just is, guys.
It just is.
It just is. You know, when girls ask me for advice, because, you know, young girls about romance and stuff, and I go, it just is. You're going to ask me for advice and then you're just going to do what you want anyway because it just is.
That's right.
Your heart wants what the heart wants.
I know.
Even if it's bad for you.
Isn't that annoying? And you just got to let it run its course.
Just let it run its course.
Because
it's how you bounce back. That's what the defining thing is, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's how
you learn.
And it's how well you know yourself before you get into the cut and thrust of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Very similar to what I say to my kids sometimes. Like, I'm so tired and I do so many things in a day that I just have no interest in. It just is. It just is.
Yeah.
But occasionally I'll just be doing the 100th thing in the day that I don't want to do, but I do it anyway because it just is. And sometimes I'll just turn around and I'll say to them, guys, you know that I'm a person. I'm just a person. You know how you don't want to do stuff you don't want to do?
Yeah.
I'm the same.
Yes.
But I'm doing it because it just is.
Yeah.
So put your fucking clothes away.
Yeah.
You know? It was interesting hearing you talk about with such detail and feeling the physical description of your school. And I do that too. I can close my eyes and describe in great detail the kitchen from when I was 5. I can feel the carpet. I can smell I can smell last night's sausages. It's like I'm there. I can open the pantry. I can feel the texture of the pantry. I can see the brown sort of acrylic cookie jar. I can see it very, very clearly. And I've always thought I was odd because the reaction from people when I say, oh, yeah, we had a carpet sweeper. It had 4 dots of rust on it and it smelt like chips. And they're like, how do you remember that you even had a carpet sweeper, let alone how many dots of rust on it and what it smelt like? I feel like you're one of those people.
Yeah.
And how important is your home environment to you? How it looks and how it smells and how it feels?
It is everything. Without even realising it, that's where I spend most of my money. I'm not like a big spender, but like I will with like putting in trees and I just want the most. Oh, by the way, I've had 2 people say, oh my God, your house reminds me of Chrissie's.
Really?
Yeah. So I know you're going to feel at home when you come to
Who?
I can't remember.
This is getting very weird, Poh.
Yeah. And sorry, this is another little divergent thought. I think it's the whole thing of us being suspicious of the industry. Do you think it's because leading up to us being on reality TV shows, we've always kind of been around it in the sidelines because me with hair and makeup and you as a copywriter, having done radio, blah, blah, blah. And I think we've kind of come in sideways, not completely by accident because obviously we applied to go on the shows, but it's not something that we've like set out to do.
No.
So I think we have
It was
this
accidental in a lot of ways.
Yeah, accident. Because who's to think that we would have careers that would have kicked on?
Not me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, circle back to house.
Yeah.
It's incredibly important to me. It's my haven. It's I have to be surrounded by beautiful things that make me feel cozy and everything has a meaning. Yes. Pick up a rock. That's why I can't have a cleaner and it looks a mess all the time because everything is there for a reason.
Yes, yeah.
Like every tiny thing. I've got so many little trinkets and everything has a story, has some kind of sentimental value. Yeah, I'm very sentimental.
Yes, I'm a very sentimental person too. Very.
But as I get older, I'm getting less sentimental because there's less time. I'm getting closer to death and I'm like, don't worry about that. Just chuck that in the bin.
I don't even have time to think about that again. Yeah. I want to talk about belonging because I think, you've spoken about, the desire to belong is an intrinsically human desire. But I would like to know your thoughts on the broader idea of belonging. I think is very subjective because the next part of that is belonging to whom or to what. Who or what do you identify as the source of your desire to belong?
Oh, can you extrapolate a little bit more?
I feel I was walking the other day because that's where I get all my answers. And I love the idea of belonging, and I think you and I are similar in that we never really felt like everybody else, and
I never will. It's like burnt in. It's like
now it is.
Yeah.
But I reckon there was some, for me, definitely there were years where I had internal dialogue where I was like, this is not what you think. This is not who you are, but you've got to belong. You cannot show people how crazy you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
How odd. And you can't show people the way your brain works because nobody else's brain works in the same way. And then I realised that I don't want to belong to everyone. My desire to belong isn't about, sliding under the radar or not making waves. And when I realised that the only person I really want to belong to is me, then everything became so easy.
It's true.
And now I can have my room how I want it. I can have my bench how I want it. And I can
Takes so long though.
Yes.
Takes ages to figure that out.
I know. And I don't think everybody agrees with us. I think the desire to belong, it's a collective. I think most people want to belong to the group, to society, do the right thing. I've never understood that.
I think as a child I wanted to belong so that I could fade into the background.
Right.
I didn't like looking different.
So when did you go, actually, I look different, I am different, I'm going to work with that?
35. I reckon 35. And I think it was related to MasterChef because it was such a public validation of my chaos.
Yes.
Right?
A public validation of my chaos.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I can really create some interesting stuff
Yeah.
when I'm in this state.
And people like it.
And people like it, yeah.
Yeah. I think I had the same thing.
Yeah.
I was 30. The public validation thing, I've never thought of that.
Talked about this recently. Someone asked me like what changed because I was so self-conscious, so shy, so everything. And I always knew there was this kind of ham in me, like that wanted to perform. But I was like, I don't know how this will ever come out because I just don't see a situation where I would feel safe to do that.
Yeah.
And they said, wow, you said that, you've only felt completely comfortable in your own skin now. And they're like, what's changed? And I was like, you know what? Everyone goes on and on about how you shouldn't seek public validation. You shouldn't deliberately seek it. But when you do get it, it's so good.
Yes.
Because of course it helps.
I think it's really good, particularly if you've lived your whole life feeling like you're too weird for the masses.
Yes, exactly.
You have to hide yourself and then you are yourself and people like it, of course.
Yeah, and not only that, people are identifying with it.
Yeah.
So there's like more of yous out there.
The sense of belonging.
Yeah.
To other little chaotic, bonkers women.
Yes.
I am fascinated with the fact that you spent decades with the name Sharon.
Yeah, till I was 24.
When did you have to remember that you were Sharon now? Did that happen when you arrived in Australia?
No. So in Malaysia, everyone has an English name. My mum's Christina, dad's Stephen, my brother's Casper. Everyone has an English name.
What were you called day to day in Malaysia?
Okay, I was called Poh Ling at school. And at home, I'm called B because that's just my nickname because it's from when my brother was tiny and he couldn't say my name. So he'd go, baby's crying, and that just got shortened to B.
That's cute.
Yeah. So everyone in my family just calls me B.
So when you started school in Australia, day one, were you Sharon?
I started Sharon because I started with Poh Ling and then I got teased once by one boy and he was like, let's go bowling, Poh Ling. And I was like, fuck that. I'm going with Sharon. So that's how that started. But I'd always written, as a kid, even in Malaysia, Sharon Poh Ling Yeow.
Oh,
no,
okay,
Sharon Yeow Poh Ling, actually. We always have last name first.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was the catalyst for you going, actually, I'm getting rid of Sharon altogether. I'm not Shazza anymore. I'm going with Poh.
So my first husband, my name's Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes. How many have you had?
2.
Two's a lot.
2. Yeah, 2. So my first husband,
Will you
Matt,
have a third, do you think?
I say no, but, I never like to say never. But
No, because we don't know what we're thinking from one day to the next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Because I'm not pessimistic, but I can't see how it's going to happen.
Yes, I know what you mean. I feel like proper connection like that is rare for normal people, and then you throw in us and, you know.
Apps, I can't do it.
Oh, God, no, yuck.
I saw this meme the other day that says, I'm just hoping to meet someone in my lounge room.
I know. Knock on the door.
Yeah. So, but
Sharon.
Yeah.
Getting rid of Sharon.
So Matt's a filmmaker.
That's right.
And he made this short film that had me in it. And he goes, I'm going to call it Poh Ling. I'm going to call it your name. And I was like, okay. And then he won this massive film prize. It was actually the biggest short film prize in Australia at the time.
Wow.
The Zoom Awards. And we had a little bit of like local press and stuff. And he just wrote in the credits, Poh Ling, played by Poh Ling. He goes, let's just do this now. He goes, because he'd been begging me for years. He goes, you need to ditch the Sharon. And I'm like, no, I can't. It just feels really pretentious now. And he goes, what do you mean? That is your name. It's just, you're just shedding the Sharon. And at the same time, I was looking through some documents and found that Sharon wasn't on my birth certificate. And so he's like, let's just try it. Let's just get people to call you that from now on and just see how that.
And what was that like?
And everyone just latched onto it. I felt a little bit self-conscious because it was also when I just started painting, and I thought everyone thought I was being a pretentious git.
Oh, yeah.
And being, oh, now that I'm a painter, can you call me Poh? But
It's my nom de plume.
It's my nom de plume. Yeah. But everyone just latched onto it so quickly that it just took
There
off.
is no other name for you. Like, it is there is just no other name. You are Poh through and through. Like, do you feel that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
The juiciest little tangent.
Yes.
You just spoke of your first husband.
Yeah.
And then you were married again.
Yes.
And that has since broken down, as they say in the courses.
Yes.
But talk to us about your unconventional
Setup.
continued relationship.
Yeah. I love talking about it because I just want people to see that there is an alternative model
Yes.
to hating your exes.
Yes.
Having said that, I also recognise that we never had children, which also makes it a lot cleaner and easier, right?
Yes.
Because that entanglement is so difficult to resolve.
Are you amicable with both exes?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you find it's unusual, and do you understand how you can compartmentalize the person from the relationship and, kind of almost like panning for gold?
Yeah.
You've been able to sift through all the shit.
Yeah.
And you can hang on to something that's good.
I think it must be unusual because people tell me it is, but that's just
but it's not hard, is it?
no, not for me.
No.
I think also because I felt like our relationship had reached such a threshold of it was just so dysfunctional, but we adored each other as friends.
So what was dysfunctional about it?
We could argue about anything. Like it was so tumultuous.
It's a drag.
Yeah, we were so argumentative. We were young and
That's not good for your peaceful enviament requirements.
Not at all. But you know what's also really interesting? He brought out this rage in me that that's given me the intensity of that rage that I've had for him is equaled by what he's inspired me to do. And it's not rage, but it's given me courage. Like tapping into this side of me that's slightly unnerving even for me. Yes. It's given me courage to do things that he's the one that really encouraged me to apply for MasterChef. He's the one that encouraged me to paint. He's the one that he always just wants to see me shine. Like he's like my greatest enabler. And we have this amazing creative symbiosis that I will never be able to find with anyone else, I don't think, ever again.
I think it would be very easy to mistake those elements for love, like for everlasting love.
Yeah, no, because it was killing that. But what happened was it hit this threshold where it got so bad that I felt like I was losing myself because I'm a really buoyant person. Like I'm very happy all the time. It doesn't take much for me.
It's your natural state.
Yeah, I'm always grateful. Like I have lots of gratitude.
Yeah.
I have gratitude for even the misfortunes. Like I can turn things over in my head very quickly on my own.
Yes.
Like I know how to see the sunny side of things, always finding the silver linings.
I think also you're excited.
Yes.
You're generally excited about
and
things.
curious. Even when I'm going through hardship, I'm like, it's very curious how I behave like that in that situation. Like I find everything very fascinating. And so
me too.
Yeah, and so when it got to the point where I was like, I'm losing myself, I don't recognize this person anymore. I'm just a ball of reaction. I'm not me. I don't feel myself anymore. I just legged it to the divorce office, just got myself a little kit and just served him the papers, and he was really – it took him by surprise, even though we'd been sort of almost living like roommates for 3 years.
Do you find that that is your pattern? You have an idea, you work on it, you sort it out, you get the answer, then you tell the people involved? If you don't want to admit it, I will admit that first.
I think so, yeah, I think it is. And it often happens in front of the easel. For you, it's walking. For me, it's painting.
Right.
And for me, walking sometimes as well now because I didn't used to walk.
And I reckon cooking would do it for you too. I find that to get the answers for anything, I have to be doing something
Engaged
else.
in something. So your mind is free.
Yeah, it's
and
like
not trying. And
that's it.
It has to just come to you. It has
there
to
needs
emerge.
to be a physical baseline to allow the brain to sort it out. And sometimes it's cooking and then my hands are busy and my brain can
It's like
can
the
do
mirroring within you.
Exactly. Internal mirroring.
This is getting so meta.
It is, isn't it? It really is. So you actually work, you have a thriving business.
So he's my agent and his partner, who's also my best friend.
Yeah.
We own Jam Face together. And Jono used to be in that equation as well.
So your ex-husband moved on with your best friend.
Yes.
They're married.
Yes.
And the three of you are in business.
Yes.
In separate sort of disciplines. He's your manager.
Yes.
And his wife is your business partner in.
Yeah, we baked together. And we went to art school together as well. That's how we knew each other.
This actually makes so much sense to me, and I don't know whether you've heard that often.
No.
It makes perfect sense to me. I can absolutely see how this would work.
Yeah. And like it was quite interesting because at that point there had been 3 years of, living in separate bedrooms. And I think we were both trying to figure out what do we do with this? It's not going anywhere. And then something just had to give. And I was just sitting in front of the easel. Might have seen a cute boy.
Yeah. I mean, there's always something. There's always some colour and movement.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because like a lot of people – do you know what I find really interesting? A lot of people, when it happened, wanted to force me into a position of victim. And I was like, how interesting. You can't deal with me dealing with this well.
Right.
Because it's unconventional and somehow it made them feel threatened, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And they were like, how can you do this? It's so ridiculous that you're okay with this. And I was like, well, I was bitter and if anything, it's just given me a green light to sort of let go of this in such a joyful way. Because part of the weirdness of trying to leave was I loved him so much and I felt responsible in some way. And for him to find someone else that I also liked actually made me really happy.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
It's history repeating. You've released this baby and given it to somebody else to raise. It's you drawing on your muscle memory.
But anyway, so yeah, we all are very different people. Matt and I are probably more similar. Sarah's very different. She's the sage. She's very chill, quiet.
It obviously works.
Yeah, it works really well, yeah.
What is your favourite thing to bake at Jam Face?
My millefillies, my millefeuille.
Oh, God, I love them too.
Yeah.
If you could only go through one drive-through for the rest of your life, what is it? Can't say McDonald's.
Maybe Hungry Jack's actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Controversial choice.
Yeah.
Might be KFC.
Flame grilled. I nearly said Dirty Bird, but
how long has it been since you've had a piece of original KFC chicken? Like just one piece?
Oh no, not original. I had the wicked wings last night. It was at a dinner I was at.
Really?
I had a piece, yeah, last night.
Me too.
What?
Me too, but I didn't have the wings. I had my favourite original recipe drumstick.
Oh, yeah.
Because it fits so beautifully in that little pot of gravy.
Oh, yes.
I remember one of my most vivid memories, it would have been the late 70s, and fast food in Australia was brand new. Like
exotic even.
It was such a treat. It was,
I completely understand.
Yeah, and I remember my dad came home from work and it was winter. I remember because it was the chill, that chill that comes in the air. Might have been a bit foggy. And he arrived home with a red and white striped bucket. The bucket. Remember the round buckets with the little paper lid?
Yep.
I could not believe it then, and I still cannot believe it now. How delicious
Beside
it
yourself.
is. Beside. Now, I want to talk about what I cook when nobody's watching. Why the shame, Poh Ling Yeow? What do you mean? Why can't people watch us eat a piece of toast with peanut butter and jam?
I know. We can. In fact, I do it publicly all the time now.
Correct.
People watch me eat. Do you know that's one of my greatest phobias? I really scored like the universe is really having a laugh, isn't it?
Why? What's your greatest
People
phobia?
watching me eat. I hate it.
Really?
I can't handle it. I can't even dine alone. Like I hate dining alone, like as in a public place.
But what about, how did you deal with that on MasterChef? Because not only are people watching you, there's also cameras and
I know.
hundreds of thousands of viewers.
The number of times I semi-missed my mouth because I was focusing so hard on my phobia.
You do it, can I tell you, you do it so elegantly.
I scooped it in and just like bumped the side of my mouth and then just quickly shifted it back.
You do it so elegantly. What is your favourite recipe in this book? Because I've read it.
Have you?
Oh, I've read it like
A book?
yeah. I haven't
God.
actually made anything from
but
it
that's
yet.
so amazing. Oh, that's
Yeah, but you're so interesting. I mean, even this, look, chicken long bean and preserved olive stir fry. I'll never make that. There's no doubt in my
You'd
mind.
love it, by the way. And it's so fast.
Preserved olive, you lost me there. It's like if I see a recipe with star anise, I'm moving on.
Really?
Yeah, too complicated.
Oh my God, you're hilarious. Okay, in that case, I'll recommend my take on avgo lemano in there.
That's one of my favourites, the Greek
Oh, you've already done it
chicken.
then.
I haven't done yours. Maybe I have. The chicken and lemon and egg soup.
I love it.
I love soups. In fact, I've always said that if I could just have two food groups styles,
Yep.
I would choose soup and salad.
I love soup.
And everything can go under there.
Yeah.
Tell me about your favourite soup. Can't be avgo lemano.
Oh, man.
You can take your time. I'm here. Like I'm salivating, just thinking about what's you're gonna say.
I was going to say avgo lemano.
Can't have it. I've already talked about it.
I do this. No, that's boring.
It's not boring.
I do this one that I kind of made up. It's in there. Yeah, and it's these pork and prawn balls in this fragrant coconut Southeast Asian brothy thing.
Oh my God, that is
vermicelli.
right up my alley.
Yeah, I think you'd really like it.
Oh, okay, I'm going to make that.
There's no star anise in it.
Well, thank God, because you know.
How about lemongrass? Are you going to wig out at that?
No, I can do lemongrass. It's the star anise, also the cinnamon quill. Gone.
Oh.
Yeah, gone.
Really?
Well, because that involves somehow trying to find the time to go and get those things. I don't have star anise or
But you
cinnamon.
have to go get lemongrass.
No, I generally have that, or that's easier to get, I think.
Okay.
Sarah's super peanutty peanut cookies.
Oh, have you had those?
No, but is this the dish that stole your ex away from you?
No.
I want to ask you one question that people ask me as well, because I really love being by myself and I always lived alone and I ran my own business so that I didn't have to see anybody. And I didn't even realise I was doing it until I started to feel like I was losing my mind surrounded by people all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, why do I feel so unhinged? And I looked back to a life where I was my calmest and happiest, and I realised I lived by myself. I worked for myself in the second bedroom in my apartment. So going to work was
Rolling out of bed.
Yeah. And that was when I was, that's
really
my clearest
so
feeling.
similar.
I know.
Because that's one of the things that I found really attractive about being a painter as well.
Yeah.
It's like complete solitude.
It's
roll
you
out
in
of
a
bed.
canvas.
Yeah, and people go, are you ever going to get an outside studio? I'm like, as if you would do that.
No, this.
Yes.
Marcel, this is a perfect example. So I want to do a podcast, right? Desperate to do it, to have proper conversations.
Yeah.
Step number one, which a normal person would do, is go around and have a look at studio spaces. I went and had a look at the higher studios and there was people everywhere.
Oh, yeah, no.
And I was like, I need to be honest with you. I can't do it. I can't go somewhere that feels temporary, that doesn't have my things in it and expect to be myself. I just can't do it. So that's why I built this studio in my house.
When are you going to come and stay with me?
I have to well, you know, I've got a lot on.
Yeah. Sorry, I just completely interrupted you because I was feeling that. I was like, that's exactly how I feel, and that's why I never leave home.
And also, people will be listening to this going, hang on, they've both said that they don't like other people and they don't want to live with anyone, and yet Poh's just invited me to her house.
That's different.
We can do that because, A, I will tell you very clearly when I'm leaving, and 2, because we like our own space, you and I can be in the same space together but separate.
Yes, and I know my house is big enough that we can do that.
Fabulous.
So that you can be in the same room and I'll do my laundry, fold my laundry.
Brilliant. As a lone wolf, Poh Ling Yeow.
Yes.
Do you ever get lonely?
Never.
Never. Me too. Never, ever, ever. The closest I've got to feeling anything is just pure explosions of joy.
Can I tell you when I felt the loneliest?
When?
Is when I've been with someone and unhappy. That's when I felt the loneliest. When I'm on my own, I feel so complete and I love being on my own. I love it.
I've said it too many, many times. There is nothing lonelier than a bad relationship. Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah.
Poh Ling Yeow, I'm going to have to tag you and release you back into the wild. There is so much more to discuss, but you've got to get a plane and I've got to go to work, and I want to show you my house too.
Yes, please.
I want to show you my house.
Yeah,
I want to know, and I want to know who said that they were similar.
I'll think about it. and I'll text you.
All right, amazing. I'm going to go and show you my house, and I will release you now. Poh Ling Yeow, thank you.
Hey, Swanee, thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Love you.
Well, I don't know about you, but I just cannot wait to get to her house and see what it looks like and smell it and look at all the art and hang out with her dog loaf and drink tea. Now, you can watch Poh as she goes full circle in her MasterChef experience, first as a contestant and now as a judge, or you can follow her on Instagram at Poh Ling Yeow. I also really recommend catching her episode of Australian Story. You can find it on ABC iView as well. Well, that's it for today, ChrissieCasters. I'll be back sooner than you'd expect with another episode of the ChrissieCast live from the compound with one of my beloved regulars. But first, I got to get the uniforms out of the washing machine because the kids have got to wear them tomorrow. And is it sport day or normal? And what socks do they wear? Ugh. Until next time.